Sorry folks, it's mandatory and it should be fun folks. It should be quick, easy. Consistency gives you that edge. You should be able to hear me now. Sorry about that. Consistency gives you an edge. That means, I will turn this down a little bit, that you won't get from a high intensity workout. Let's try that on for size. That might be better. Not clipping. Test 1, 2. Maybe down a bit more. Test 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check. Check. That should do. We'll leave it at that. Maybe a bit more gain. Anyway. My nightly concept, folks, that training is mandatory. It should be fun. It should be quick and easy. And the more consistent you are, the easier it gets without having to break your back every single session. I try to keep it under 30 minutes because, hey, I want to do stuff as well, folks. I am playing Gran Turismo 7 on the PlayStation. I do exercise just to break it up and change it up a little bit during the day. But exercise is the panacea for my mental and physical health, and it is for you as well. You've been misled a lot of the time by the fitness industry to let you think that, one, train for looks, which is just a big waste of time. It's a byproduct, not your main goal. And that you can just go and do some 2 hours a day and then maybe twice a week, and that's it. It's much better to do shorter amounts of time, less intensity, more frequently. So even if that's just 10, 20 minutes a day, as I'm just warming up my joints, folks, I've had a pretty big day of walking, jogging, and doing a lot of housework. So it takes its toll on you, but you don't really have to do that much as a result now. Just get the blood pumping for my GT7 session. Jazz in the house, thanks for letting me know you're here, and hope you're all right as well. Maybe if you're up for it, 1 or 2 rounds of Counter-Strike after this CS GO if anybody plays it, but like I said, if not, tomorrow maybe. But there's going to be a round this week, damn it, just joking. Hey, there's my lanyard mic that I've got to replace, but I think so far, this is the wireless receiver, which I plug my lanyard mic into, but it has a microphone in it anyway. I just like that to make it a little bit less intrusive, but I mean, it's pretty minimal there anyway, and I think you can hear me, so else you would have probably said so. So let's do some squats, do some push-ups, get the hell out of here. I've just been watering my garden. Cloning some mandivillas. Yeah, we just literally got the power back on. Unbelievable. Yes, okay, cool. Like I said, 10, 20 minutes, whatever you've got, and it doesn't have to be directly after this, just whenever you're ready. Sound is fine, that's good. Unbelievable about the quality of power and the reasons why we're having power shortages and why our national grid is so messed up is just due to two-party politics really screwing us, and then obviously the Greens took money from energy lobbyists back in the day to go against nuclear power, and well, we all know what that's done to Australia. It's set us back into the dark ages compared to the rest of the world. Say what you want about nuclear, folks, but it is the best baseload energy that we can have in the country. Unfortunately now, since it takes 10 to 20 years to get a reactor online, and with our 3-year system between elections, it just would never happen in Australia. So I don't think it's really an option for us anymore, but tidal energy in this country, generating off tides, it's a no-brainer. Even better than solar, and even better than what's the other one that we have? Wind turbines is tidal energy, and they just put them at places where there's strong tides, and when it goes out one way, it's got the turbine going in the other way, and then it turns in the other direction for when the tide comes back in. And there's apparently 1,500 sites that we can put these around the country. It's insane that we're not using them. Anyway, 4 minutes in, I haven't done a single squat. What's a squat? sit down and stand back up. Effectively, that's how you learn to do a squat. Grab a chair, a stool, or my fancy Start Building box, which I got from Bunnings, our local hardware store in Australia, who have taken over. And give me a Tesla acoustic resonance DC. Yeah, well, man. I mean, there are so many options out there. And look, honestly, I'm not a huge, I'm not very anti-coal or gas either. I think they're a means to an end. I think power is more important. Power is more important for the well-being of our citizens than trying to reduce pollution overnight, which isn't feasible. Like, when they talk about, I'll do a few squats and I'll keep talking. When they talk about the damages of climate change and the results that they're trying to make over 2030, by 2030 from the UN's guidelines, is them saying that climate change effect will reduce global GDP by like either 0.5% or 1%. That's really not the end of the world, right? From an economic standpoint, which people argue economic rationalism, you can't be that way. I think you can. I think pulling people out of poverty, giving them power and producing a bit of pollution is a lot worse than just letting people currently die. Like, it's more important to sustain life that exists on the earth today rather than hypothesizing about the lives that are going to be affected who haven't been born yet, right? I mean, it's hard to argue with that, I think. I think we've got to look at renewable technology, we've got to implement it, but not at the expense of people who are alive today, folks. Always up for debate. Shoot me a message on Twitter. Like and subscribe first, of course. And I've been speaking to some interesting people telling me how to get more people coming through Start Building Me, but I want to do it more grassroots, folks. I want my message to be what spreads this channel, and that's it, really. I like to develop it and improve, start building myself and my concept with a few people to try and see if it benefits them. I have done a lot of Start Building Me stuff with friends, family, and acquaintances and people who I've trained offline out of this channel, and have had such enormous success, not only with the appearance of the people who have been doing this, but by their mental well-being as well. The self-confidence has been the most noticeable thing that comes for this, because it's such an easy pat on your back thing to do. Do a few squats, do a few push-ups, get your heart rate up, and honestly, folks, like I said, this is really good bang for buck exercise. It's not as foundational as people would think. Like, doing a squat properly and a push-up properly and some joint mobility drills is quite advanced in terms of the technique, and over time is really all it takes to develop from here into a professional athlete. The squat is so foundational. So sitting down, weight going to the outside of your feet, using those arches. So drive your toes into the ground, side of your feet, heels, breathe in and up. Or the reverse, which is breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, it's a rhythm, folks, that you want to get into. Mate, I think it's a highlight of my day as well. I'm glad to hear it, and I've heard it from many people. It's just that quick debrief. How are you? Hope you're all right. If there's anything cool you've done, tell me how it's going. If there's any benefits you've received from it, any techniques or something that you've noticed in what I've described that has been able to help your consistent gains over time, that's what I want to hear, folks, is as I was saying to Ben last night, unfortunately I had to clip the video because of a sound issue, but Start Building Me, Dale's trying to get in, Start Building Me first and foremost is about putting yourself on a foundation, a platform to start developing yourself, not just physically, but mentally, folks, and also emotionally, right? And I know Jazz will agree, refraining from doxing you, don't worry, these videos refresh every 2 weeks, so no doxing information will come out. Jazzercise here is one of my best friends, and we've had so many different discussions over the time of philosophy and psychology, two things we studied at university. And attitude and just thinking positively and being positive with your friends is inspiring, and it inspires everybody to, you know, keep on helping their mates up around them, and it just makes a good environment to develop yourself in so many ways, folks. And you know, I just find there's such a shortage of love these days, you know, and people seize up when you give them a hug, and I think that's weird. Like, it's always been weird for me and all my mates, you know, it's basically quasi-homosexual males. We all can give each other a hug, like, you know, it's positive. It's just like, hey, how's it going? I hope you're okay. And that's what we're trying to do here, folks, is get people in, hopefully be able to get some corporate overlords to give out stuff to people for the time that they give here as promotion for their products, and yeah, and just to stay positive, folks. In a world where media is telling us that the world is ending, folks, as they say, a narcissist is a person that thinks that the world is going to end during the time that they're alive, folks, and that's really the reality of it. The world's not ending, folks. The world's not going to burn in 2030. It's all a load of BS. I'm sure we've got to develop renewables, we've got to improve our energy, etc., etc. We've got to develop technology, but folks, we do that because the market determines the value for this, so people will do this stuff to make money, and that's the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line, right? So, you know, what do the Germans have a saying? Believe half of what you read and nothing what you hear, folks. And I think that's really, really important to have that message in your mind. Otherwise, you'll think that the world's burning, that the barbarians, the Vandals are at the doors of Rome. It's really not the way, folks. They want you to believe that way to keep you scared, because when you're scared, you consume, like rats in Rat Park, in the Skinner boxes, you know. Keep them terrified, have crap conditions, and they'll just sit there pressing the button to get whatever stimulus that they can get, because there's nothing else that they're offered. And if you improve the conditions inside that Skinner box, hey, guess what? All of a sudden they're not just feeding and breeding. Yeah, man, 100%. Instead of saving for the future, you're just like, we've got no future, may as well consume. And that's why I was speaking to a friend today who came up from Brisbane for working with her brother and his business. Somebody I got to hook up with, actually. He's a runner. Runs a business that does like sort of trek running. I want to get Jesus hooked up with him, because, you know, obviously that would be besties, because they're just enduring running madmen. But I lost my train of thought. It will come back to me. What did you say? That will let you know future people to spend the money. Yeah, so what I intend to do is hopefully, like sort of like an athlete program, is to sponsor different people, and the best form of advertisement is, you know, some kid just talking about their experience. Like, I've been working on startbuilding.me, and as a Townsville an athlete, have sponsored to go rock climbing, or help me buy a mountain bike so I can go and do 4-cross or track cycling or something like that. Just trying to get people talking about, hey, if you do something positive, a positive thing comes back, and that improves your life, and then you can help other people sort of pull each other up, basically. And I think it's a business model where we're going to basically have corporations by the short and curly, because they're going to need us more than we need them. They're going to need, if the economy crashes and we have 10 years of flat GDP, like growth, effectively none, then retaining business and getting new customers will be more important to us for them to stay solvent. So they will have to get, you know, sponsorship to get people word of mouth marketing out there. So the flip model of getting people to earn off their time instead of the people who are doing the content for earning money. Like I said, as one of my alter ego, one of my nicknames is just to stick it to the man, you know? Like, I don't need anything, but it would be cool to see these people have to go back and give money to create their market, you know, to keep it afloat, basically. So anyway, as always, I'll be poaching your services for help with any data that I'll be needing to process, so stay tuned. But that's always been my dream, is to run a business with all my mates in some shape or form, something that we can all do remotely through Starlink with low overheads and you know, utilize the brain and creativity that all our friends have. If you think about it, we've got a global network of assassins, and I want to tap into that. As much for me as for you. So shake it out, folks. Take some time off. And as I was explaining to this person at breakfast this morning, I digress. You want to breathe. Like, never stop breathing. For the time being, it's still free, folks. For how long, we're not sure. When they start making carbon tracking apps and start focusing on how much we're breathing, try and charge us for it. But those days aren't here yet. So if you just come here and do nothing else and just stand still, you could be a quadriplegic or paraplegic, and you could benefit from startbuilding.me. Just have it as that time out of the day just to breathe. And hey, give yourself a pat on the back. Breathing's achieving, folks. I love that little Duval's quote. Breathing's achieving. Take every day at a time. What happens tomorrow is irrelevant, but you're alive now and you're breathing, and man, there's not much more to life than that, honestly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you've got 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe you've got 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Weight to the outside of your feet. 8, 9, 10. Got some good tension there, folks. Good tension in my glutes. Feel my heart's rates up. Feel my blood's pumping. I'm going to leave it there. I've talked enough. Could go for 20 minutes, but I think 15 minutes was my goal. Let's do some push-ups and get out of here. Switching to the patented startbuilding.me floor cam. What's a push-up, folks? Without hesitation, this is what a push-up looks like. You can do them off your knees, like that. You can walk out your body a little bit further so your body's more straight. Tense your butt and do that. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep your fingers spread. We'll give you a firmer base, right? If you keep your fingers spread like that, you've got more surface area spread out over there. Gives yourself that message that you're sending through, that dexterity and tactility, where you're sending a message to your brain that you're going to be doing something that requires some coordination, some tension. So by doing that, you'll be able to send that signal, send that urgency to your body, to your brain, and be able to do more of the movement. Now, as I always say, if you're doing them with you walking out, trying to keep this part of your body straight and straight like that, tense your butt, folks. By tensing your butt, never forget to breathe. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean you can stop breathing. By breathing, you'll be able to do more. It's a very common mistake for people to make when they're novices, is to stop breathing. If you can do a strict push-up, perfect. Do strict push-ups. If you want to work on something, tense your butt, folks. Really tense your butt. By tensing your butt, it's going to keep your core straight. Basically, a push-up is a plank like this with movement, right? That is all. So You can do a plank if you can't do the plank with movement yet, for as long as you can hold it. Back off into your knees. Chill out. Breathe. Breathe in. It's free. Amazing. One of the few things in life that's free. Sweet, sweet air. And do another plank. And hold it. If you can't hold it long, put your knees down. Give yourself a bit of a break. Put your knees up. Chill out. Put your knees back down. Have a break. And vice versa. Again, if you can do push-ups off your knees, do them. If you can do push-ups, hey, I want to make it worth my while as well, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Feels good. Breathe. That focusing on your breathing is how I learned to meditate. So when I was working in a business with one of my friends, my mum used to go down to the Western Buddhist Center to meditate and use their library to read books from Alan Watts, Dick Sutphin, and a whole bunch of other Western philosophers effectively who have translated a lot of the Eastern philosophies, like the Tao of philosophy. I can't remember the Alan Watts books. I'll have to look them up. I'll put them up in a link. But if you want to listen to some life-changing stuff, at least it was for me when I was at university, Alan Watts's read-ins that you can get online. Look at YouTube, for instance. Alanwatts. He's a British philosopher. And his adaptation of Eastern philosophies for Western practicality and living were one of the most inspiring things in my lifetime to come across. So check them out. Really check it out. And basically going to that Buddhist center a few times a week with my business partner and I to meditate was something that really changed my life. Because just focusing on your breathing and counting your breath on the in-breath or the out-breath, counting to 10 and then resetting it, was sitting on the ground with your eyes closed, is something that really started a spiritual awakening in me. And I'm not religious, but I believe in elements of spirituality. I believe that there are elements of Christianity that have set up our society to create a somewhat usable framework. I think it's stagnated a lot of progress. Obviously, the Christian Dark Ages that stopped a lot of technology being developed because, people like Copernicus and Galileo were seen as being heretics, locking them up and stopping their work getting put forward really set us back, and to the tune of hundreds of years, folks. I'm not talking like a decade. It was a few hundred years in the Middle Ages. So I think that plus all the sex scandals, like again, I've got heaps of Christian friends, not bagging out Christians, but the framework is guilty of, some shit. We're all guilty of something, right? But a lot of the Eastern stuff, the heart-centric, the flow of everything, the duality elements, there's a lot of things that you can take home for that, as from a computer scientist as well, not just somebody who's interested in philosophy. 4, 5, tense your butt, dig your feet into the carpet. Oh, your quality buy, swap, sell floor pads that you got off somebody who was moving, so you picked them up for a cool tanner. Walked up there and gave her the tanner and took them and said, I would have given you 20. And she laughed. She didn't care. She's like, I wanted them out and I wanted to get some money for them. I was like, right on, sister. They're awesome. Just feels weird when I was just using a sheet underneath myself. Have something firm, feels good underneath it. Hope you're still breathing, folks. I mean, obviously, don't want you dying on startbuilding.me because, then the building element is kind of off the table. So keep breathing. We'll do another few and then we'll get out of here. What are we looking at here now? 24 minutes. I'm going to be out of here in 5 minutes. So let's see how many push-ups we can do in 5 whilst I shoot the proverbial. Was working on the beetle a bit today. Like I said, doing some gardening. took the hounds through the bush. They decided to take off after a kangaroo and tread through the mud and ignored my calls coming back. I ran after them with their leads like Homer Simpson, and they took off again. Some proof that, negative reinforcement sometimes really isn't as good as positive reinforcement. But, people might say, oh, you shouldn't hit your dog with a leash, just with the soft end. My dogs are well-eyed, folks. It does nothing to me. They just look at me like, whatever, old man. They don't give a rat's. And but the next time when you're like, oi, they think twice about it. They're like, don't really want to upset the old man, the dust-collecting old codger. Don't want to stir him up, so they just hang around. And Keith's a better dog, so you're like, oi, and he'll run back up the trail like, oh, just joking, boss, it's all good, yeah, just testing you, it's all good. Dale's just like, screw you, boss, I'm out of here. And you just see him, the only time Dale bounces, bow, bow, he's after the kangaroo, after the lizard, whatever it is that he's after, he's not coming back until he realizes, oh, I am way too unco and lazy to catch that beast, and comes back sheepishly on, oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, well, man, the latest or second latest Joe Rogan is about, what is it, the Young Dryas series or something, just basically about two scientists that come in, I can't remember, Young Dryas or something like that, basically about how possibly some ancient civilization was wiped out where they possessed a certain level of technology that is just off on a different tangent than what we're used to with our current mechanical sort of technology, and that we had that civilization wiped out by a meteor shower, and that there could be, instead of just the unknown variables that we fill in with science, that there's maybe some inconsistencies that they found. It would be like, the way I explain it to people is, imagine if there was like a tornado strike and it hit a thrift shop, and then people went and picked through the items in the thrift shop, and there's like 200 years of stuff, and they'd be trying to put that stuff back together to understand the current climate and what it was like, and it would be like 200 years of knickknacks where they're trying to figure out what it was like now. That's kind of the way I see archaeological findings, is maybe it's just this sort of mashed up element that has been sort of pieced together incorrectly. I think it's pretty unfalsifiable. If people give credibility to religion, right, thousands of years of, Chinese whispers effectively, even though that's not PC, sorry, whatever. I think it's safe to say that it could be the same with, civilizations that are older. There's been like wood carvings that they've found of things that look like aliens from like 12,000 years ago from carbon dating and stuff. And it's like, oh, it was Cro-Magnon, man. It's like, maybe, maybe there's just like, maybe there was some element when Plato was writing about Atlantis and stuff, this civilization that was 10,000 years ago. Basically, one thing that happens in science a lot is people fill in unknown variables, a lot of the time. But even they'll admit, it's like, we're obviously missing a lot of something, right? Like dark energy and dark matter, for instance. It's like sort of a pretty convenient construct to develop for something that is just unknown variables, right? And I think so as well. So basically, long story short, especially with a lot of Eastern philosophies and how they're heart-centric and we're brain-centric, I think time will be, like anything, time will tell, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But, man, keep your mind open, folks. As I always like to say, fear the man of one book, right? It's something that you need to take in mind, especially if you're extremely religious. Is it crazier to just be a zealot to one book or to multiple books? I think it's pretty obvious to me, but some people are zealots. What can I say? Good luck to them. Nothing against them, but it doesn't really work for me. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but 10s, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I am done, folks. And I'm well into Graham Hancock, and he talks about this a lot. I've heard of the name, I'll check it out. In Turkey, I've heard of Giza Pyramid as a power plant. Awesome. Yes, Graham Hancock. Graham Dryas here. I'll look up that name, I'll send you the link. But man, I think one thing, you know, is like the Dunning-Kruger effect. Basically, all we know is that we don't know nothing, and that's fine. The old Operation Ivy song, I think time shows that, you know, I guess, as I said in that Facebook post, time is a harsh critic and nothing lasts time, you know, virtually nothing. Everything gets revised. Even science, folks, the science is never settled. Don't believe those statements like that. It's just spin. Anyway, let's get out of here. I'm going to go make a protein shake. Give us a buzz if you want to play some CSGO. I will be on my normal Discord channel for startbuilding.me. So if anybody ever wants to game with us, that's where they know to find us. Take it easy, folks. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Love you all. Like and subscribe, of course.